15 TV stars from the 1970s became household names, but fame nearly destroyed them all. One variety show host smiled through her mother's alcoholism and never got a single word of praise. A space hero was almost passed over for Bond, then became a commercial legend by accident. An action star's dyslexia was so bad, he felt stupid his whole childhood. Behind the glamour were broken families, hidden addictions, and crushing loneliness. Can you identify all 15? The real question is, do you want to know their secrets? Number 15. Born on October 27, 1939, in the seaside town of Weston-super-Mare, England, he grew up in a home that was quiet on the outside, but brimming with restless curiosity inside. By the time he was old enough to form sentences, he was already forming punchlines. That dry, biting British wit wasn't something he learned. It was already there, waiting to be unleashed. He didn't just stop at the show. Monty Python leaped onto the big screen and made history again. In Monty Python and the Holy Grail, released in 1975, Cleese became everyone from Sir Lancelot to a shouting Frenchman hurling insults from a castle wall. In 1979's Life of Brian, he turned Pontius Pilate into one of the most absurd characters in any biblical satire ever made. He didn't care about boundaries. In fact, the more sacred something was, the more likely he was to take a hammer to it. Not out of cruelty, but out of a need to question, poke, and laugh. Then came something smaller in scale, but bigger in legacy. Fawlty Towers, a sitcom with only 12 episodes spread over 2 years, 1975 and 1979. All 12 episodes came from his pen. Several he directed himself. It won him the 1980 British Academy Television Award for Best Entertainment Performance. Basil Fawlty, the man with the twitching eye and the sharp tongue, was ranked number 2 on Channel 4's list of the 100 greatest TV characters in 2001. Number 14. She was 23, barely known outside the pageant world, when Lynda Carter walked into an audition room and changed television history. Most of the big names had already been considered. Farrah Fawcett, Jaclyn Smith. Every agent in Hollywood was pushing someone, but the producers kept saying no. They wanted something rare, someone with grace, strength, and presence. Not just beauty, not just a name. They were looking for Wonder Woman. Lynda wasn't just another actress reading lines. She showed them something else entirely. A spin. Literally. She spun around, drawing on her old dance training, and said that's how Diana Prince should transform. That one move changed everything. It became her signature, and it rewrote how superhero transformations were filmed on TV. What fans didn't know was what was happening when the cameras weren't rolling. Lynda would later speak about it. The pressure, the misconduct, the people who thought being a symbol of strength meant you didn't need protecting. She kept showing up anyway, kept smiling for the camera, kept doing stunts like the helicopter grab in Season 2, when she literally hung from a real helicopter without any harness. Everyone on set thought she was insane. She just called it part of the job. She didn't stop with acting. In the late 1970s, she recorded an album called Portrait. Her voice carried the same presence as her performances. She started appearing in TV specials, variety shows, talk shows, always with that posture, always with that look like she knew something you didn't. Number 13. Lee Majors wasn't supposed to become a global icon, but when The $6 Million Man aired in 1973, everything shifted. Based on Martin Caidin's novel Cyborg, the show introduced Steve Austin, a former astronaut nearly killed in a crash, only to be rebuilt with bionic parts. The line, "We can rebuild him. We have the technology," wasn't just catchy, it became a generational mantra. By 1974, the show was being broadcast in over 71 countries. And Majors, with his calm strength and piercing eyes, became a symbol of futuristic masculinity. He didn't play Austin like a robot. He gave him heart, pain, humor, and it worked. Toys, comics, video games followed. The 1973 pilot drew over 35 million viewers, convincing ABC to go all in. For 5 years, he led the charge in a show that blurred the line between man and machine. But power brings tension. In 1977, at the peak of the show's success, Majors demanded more than a raise. He wanted his company, Fawcett Majors Productions, involved as a producer. Universal Television refused. Majors walked off set for a month. Lawsuits followed. The studio caved. But ratings were slipping, and in 1978, the show ended. Majors had seen this world before. Back in 1965, he was Heath Barkley in The Big Valley, holding his own alongside Barbara Stanwyck. He'd already proven his acting range in Owen Marshall, Counselor at Law. And he wasn't done. In 1981, he returned with The Fall Guy, playing a stuntman turned bounty hunter, giving audiences another 5 years of thrilling escapes and quiet charisma. Number 12, Ian Ogilvy, didn't just step into the role of Simon Templar in 1978. He stepped into the shadow of Roger Moore. The original Saint had already become a legend by the time ITC Entertainment launched Return of the Saint. And yet somehow, with only 24 episodes airing over one season, Ogilvy made the character his own. British audiences embraced the new version almost instantly. In America, CBS broadcast it nationwide, and for a brief moment, Ian's face was everywhere. He wasn't just an actor playing a suave hero. He became the new face of a global icon. Driving a sleek Jaguar XJS with a license plate that simply read ST1, he moved across Europe on screen like he owned every city he touched. Every episode began with that crisp narration and ended with the glowing halo over his head. A subtle but sharp nod to the original series. His path wasn't built on hype. It was built on craft. Trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, he shared the stage and screen with legends like Peter Cushing and Vincent Price. He never needed to shout for attention. His style was cooler than that. He simply showed up, delivered, and let the work speak. Even decades later, he kept working steadily, making appearances on American shows like Diagnosis, Murder, and Jag. People remembered him. They always did. Not because he chased the spotlight, but because he never tried too hard to earn it. Number 11, born on October 30th, 1945, in Manhattan, Winkler grew up in the shadow of trauma. His parents had fled Nazi Germany in 1939, and they raised him with the kind of rigid expectations that came from survival. But school was a nightmare. His dyslexia, undiagnosed for most of his youth, made him feel stupid, lost, and frustrated. Still, he found a way forward through acting, studying at Emerson and then Yale School of Drama, trying to prove that he could become something more than what the system had labeled him. In 1974, when he was cast in Happy Days, his role as Fonzie was supposed to be small. Just a guy with a motorcycle and a few lines. But something happened. Roles dried up. Offers vanished. For years, he faded from Hollywood's spotlight, almost forgotten, until he changed everything behind the scenes. Producing, directing, helping shows like MacGyver and Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, find their rhythm. He won the Genesis Award in 1991 for his work on MacGyver, proof that he was more than just an actor in a leather jacket. Then came a second wave. In Scream, 1996, he shocked audiences with a twisty role. In The Waterboy, 1998, he played a nervous football coach and made an entire new generation laugh. But his biggest twist wasn't on screen. It was on the page. Alongside Lynn Oliver, Winkler co-wrote the Hank Zipser children's books, inspired by his own battle with dyslexia. The books sold more than 2 million copies and were turned into a TV show. He became an advocate for literacy, and in 2011, he was awarded an Order of the British Empire for his work. Number 10. She didn't start at the top. Farrah Fawcett had been building her way through commercials and guest appearances, smiling her way through toothpaste ads, and popping up in shows like The $6 Million Man and Harry O. She had that sunlit Texas charm, the kind that made casting directors stop and ask, "Who is that?" But in 1976, something bigger came along: Charlie's Angels. Farrah was Jill Monroe, one of the 3 angels working for a mysterious man named Charlie. The show exploded. By the end of its first season, it was one of the top 3 shows in the country. But it wasn't just the show that became iconic. It was her. The red swimsuit poster of Farrah, hair feathered and smile unbreakable, sold 6 million copies in just its first year. That one photo became the best-selling poster of all time. Her face was on dolls, lunchboxes, puzzles, calendars. Suddenly, she wasn't just Farrah. She was Farrah Fawcett. And then she left. After just 1 season, she walked away. Most stars would never dream of stepping off a rocket mid-flight. But Farrah wanted more. She wanted roles that meant something, not just pretty girls in tight clothes. She also fought back over the profits made from her image. Her decision led to lawsuits, headlines, and backlash. But even as she left the Angels, her hair didn't leave anyone's memory. The Farrah do, that feathered look, swept through salons across the world. People didn't just admire her, they copied her. The years after were not always kind. She took roles that pushed her far from the glossy world of television beauty. In 1984, she played a battered woman who sets her abusive husband on fire in the burning bed. That TV movie didn't just shock audiences, it changed things. A national hotline for abuse victims was shown at the end. The country watched. They listened. They acted. That same bravery showed again in Extremities, where she played a rape survivor who turns the tables. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't easy, but it was raw and real and unforgettable. Number 9, Jaclyn Smith started in the same place. In September 1976, she joined Farrah and Kate Jackson on Charlie's Angels as Kelly Garrett. The elegance, the intelligence, the calm in the storm, that was Jaclyn. The show took off like wildfire. Ratings soared. Products flew off shelves. It wasn't just a show, it was a movement, and Jaclyn never left. From the very first episode to the very last in 1981, she was the only angel who stayed. 115 episodes. That alone carved her into TV history. There was that famous Time magazine cover in November 1976. Producers wanted the shoot during lunch. Kate Jackson pushed back. The women took their break first. That photo, 3 confident women standing shoulder to shoulder, became a new kind of symbol. One that said women could be glamorous, smart, and in control. The merchandise never stopped, and Jaclyn's face was everywhere. But she didn't stop at the surface. In 1981, she was nominated for a Golden Globe for playing Jacqueline Kennedy in a TV movie. Not every action star transitions to serious drama, but she did. She showed she wasn't just TV's sweetheart, she was a serious actress. She took roles in miniseries like Rage of Angels, The Bourne Identity, Florence Nightingale. She didn't vanish after Angels. She kept working, kept transforming. In 1985, she did something no one expected. She launched her own clothing line with Kmart. It wasn't just a vanity project, it was a first. No celebrity had done it before, and it worked. She later added home decor, then wigs, building a brand that outlived the show that started it all. Jaclyn wasn't just an actress anymore, she was a businesswoman. She turned fame into legacy. Number 8. She was born in Birmingham, Alabama, in 1948, long before anyone knew her name would one day sit beside legends. Kate Jackson didn't come into fame through shortcuts or stunts. She built it the hard way, earning it with grit on regional TV, scene after scene, playing everything from a ghost on Dark Shadows in 1970 to a grounded nurse on The Rookies through 1976. That slow burn of credibility made her the only one among the 3 original Angels who already had 4 years of major TV experience before Charlie's Angels even started. When casting began, they wanted her as Kelly Garrett. She pushed back. She wanted to be Sabrina Duncan instead. The role felt smarter, deeper, closer to her. And when she saw a painting of 3 angels on producer Aaron Spelling's office wall, she didn't just point at it, she named the entire show on the spot. In 1976, the show exploded. Jackson, Farrah Fawcett, and Jaclyn Smith were on the cover of Time. The airwaves were theirs. She was paid $10,000 per episode, a massive sum for a TV actress back then. But behind the glow of flashbulbs, Kate never acted like she belonged to the cameras. She fought quietly for her co-stars' dignity, often demanding they be given time to eat lunch instead of being pulled into endless promotional shoots. That wasn't popular with producers, but it was honest, and that honesty never left her. She walked away from Charlie's Angels in 1979, not with bitterness, but with clarity. By 1983, she had stepped into a new world, one that looked a lot like her own. Scarecrow and Mrs. King wasn't just another show, it was built for her. Amanda King wasn't a perfect woman. She was a single mom, drawn into espionage by accident. But Jackson made her real. The chemistry with co-star Bruce Boxleitner was instant, but the deeper twist was behind the scenes. Sam Melville, who played her character's ex-husband, had once been her co-star on The Rookies. That thread made the whole setup feel lived in, like the story had history, just like she did. Number 7. Valerie Harper had been dancing long before anyone gave her a microphone. Born in Suffern, New York, in 1939, she was just 16 when she joined the Corps de Ballet at Radio City Music Hall. But it wasn't until she walked into the Second City Troupe in Chicago that she found her rhythm. Not in steps, but in timing. That comedic timing would change everything. In 1970, she landed the role that would define her, Rhoda Morgenstern. Mary Tyler Moore was the star, but Valerie was the one who stole the audience's breath with sarcasm and soul. She wasn't just the best friend. She was the shadow that made the light brighter. The public didn't just love her. She was part of the Tony-winning Story Theater and later transformed into Tallulah Bankhead in Looped in 2011, a role that left critics stunned by how far she could reach. Even as time passed, she stayed in the room. A quick voice on The Simpsons, a guest on Sex and the City, a name that never needed to shout to be remembered. Number 6. She changed everything without raising her voice. When the Mary Tyler Moore Show premiered on September 19, 1970, American television had never seen a woman like her. Mary Richards wasn't married. She wasn't divorced. She wasn't someone's mother or widow. She was just herself, single, working, living alone in Minneapolis, and that was revolutionary. By December 19th, the show had already climbed into the top 20 ratings. It would stay on the air until March 1977, running 7 seasons and winning 29 Emmy Awards. 3 of those went to the show itself for Outstanding Comedy Series, and 3 to Moore for Best Lead Actress in a Comedy. She became one of the most decorated women in TV history, but it wasn't about trophies. It was about what she made possible. Before all that, She was Laura Petrie on The Dick Van Dyke Show from 1961 to 1966. Her capri pants were almost as famous as her timing. She won 2 Emmys and made housewives across America feel seen. But that wasn't enough. In 1969, Moore and her husband, Grant Tinker, created MTM Enterprises. The cast around her, Ed Asner, Valerie Harper, Betty White, Cloris Leachman, Ted Knight, became icons in their own right. When the finale aired on March 19, 1977, the entire cast huddled in the newsroom, holding each other and sobbing. No one had ever ended a comedy like that, and yet it felt exactly right. Number 5, he played Hawkeye Pierce in MASH, a show that ran from 1972 to 1983 for 11 seasons. Set in a mobile army surgical hospital during the Korean War, the show did something no other sitcom dared. It mixed comedy with grief, jokes with blood, punchlines with body bags. Alan Alda didn't just act, he lived in every frame. He appeared in all 256 episodes. No one else did. He also wrote 19 episodes and directed 31. His fingerprints were everywhere, and it was his influence that pulled the show deeper, away from one-liners and into something heavier, more truthful. He pushed the network to cut the laugh track. He wanted silence when a man died on the table, and he got it. When the show ended in 1983, 105 million people watched the final episode. It was called Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. For years, it was the most watched episode in American TV history. Alda had co-written it and directed it. And when the screen faded to black, it wasn't just the end of a show, it was the end of an era. But he didn't stop there. He wrote The Seduction of Joe Tynan in 1979, starred in Same Time Next Year in 1978, and wrote and directed the 4 seasons in 1981. In 2004, he played Senator Owen Brewster in The Aviator and got an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. His roles always felt like something more than acting. Even in Crimes and Misdemeanors or Marriage Story, he brought a kind of honesty that cut through everything else. Number 4, he was born on November 25, 1920, in the heart of Mexico City, a place pulsing with culture and history. But the path Ricardo Montalban would walk was never going to be easy or ordinary. By the late 1940s, he was in Hollywood, facing cameras, lights, and a system that only seemed to offer one kind of role to someone who looked like him. Still, he leaned in. MGM paired him with Esther Williams in Fiesta in 1947, and by 1949, they danced together in Neptune's Daughter to the smooth pull of Baby It's Cold Outside. That same year, he became the first Hispanic actor to appear on the cover of Life magazine. It was a bold, loud moment for representation, but it didn't erase what followed. Hollywood wanted him boxed. Latin lover, bandido, gigolo. That was the list. Then came 1967, Star Trek, a single episode called Space Seed. He stepped on screen as Khan Noonien Singh and made the role unforgettable. His deep voice, that commanding calm. It all felt larger than the screen could hold. But even then, he knew it was still just a start. Then came Fantasy Island. From 1977 to 1984, week after week, people tuned in to see Mr. Rourke, the mysterious host who seemed to know more than he said, who gave guests more than they asked for. Ricardo made him magnetic. The white suit, the calm stare, that voice. And just like that, he was a star again. But that wasn't all. In commercials for Chrysler's Cordoba between 1975 and 1988, he praised the rich Corinthian leather with such smoothness that it became a national catchphrase. People imitated it, parodied it, laughed with it. And he owned it. Number 3, David Carradine was born on December 8, 1936, into the complicated spotlight of the Carradine acting dynasty. His father was John Carradine, whose voice and face haunted dozens of films. David tried to escape it, but acting was already in his blood. In 1965, he stunned Broadway playing Atahualpa in The Royal Hunt of the Sun, earning a Theatre World Award. Then came Shane in 1966, a promising series. Short-lived, a brief taste, a whisper of what could come. By 1967, he was scraping roles in westerns, the violent ones. Heaven with a Gun, Macho Callahan. Movies with grit, but little depth. Still, something in his stare caught directors' attention. Then 1972 came, and with it, everything changed. He was cast as Kwai Chang Caine in Kung Fu, a half-Chinese, half-white monk wandering the American West, preaching peace with his fists held steady. It was strange. The show ran until 1975. He was now Grasshopper, the student, the symbol, the seeker. A whole generation grew up mimicking his quiet voice, his patient hands, his slow movements. But there was always something burning under David's calm. In 1974, it boiled over. He wandered naked through Laurel Canyon, high on peyote, broke into a neighbor's home, and got arrested. No charges stuck, just a stain, a warning sign. He never hid from his damage. Instead, he made art from it. In 1976, he stunned critics again in Bound for Glory, playing folk singer Woody Guthrie. It was rough, tender, honest. He got a Golden Globe nomination. In 1980, he shared the screen with his brothers in The Long Riders, portraying outlaws as blood-bonded family. And in 1981, he directed and starred in Americana, which won the People's Prize at Cannes. The film barely made it to theaters, but it mattered to him. Number 2. She was born in 1951 in Phoenix, Arizona, long before she ever dreamed of spinning into a superhero. Back then, Linda Carter was just a small-town girl with big eyes and bigger hopes. She loved music, she loved beauty, and she had no idea that someday the whole world would know her name. In 1972, she entered the Miss World USA pageant and won. That crown gave her a ticket to something more, and she took it. She packed up, moved to Los Angeles, and started chasing something that didn't yet have a name. For a while, nothing worked. The calls didn't come. The auditions led nowhere. She took jobs singing in lounges and tiny clubs. The money dried up fast. She was living off scraps and fumes, and right before everything changed, she had only $25 left in her bank account. She was ready to go back to Arizona, back to normal. But then came 1975, a phone call, an audition, a costume, and suddenly, she wasn't Linda Carter anymore. She was Wonder Woman. The show started as a single TV movie. No promises, no guarantees, just a pilot. But when it aired, it exploded. Ratings climbed. Phones rang. People couldn't stop watching. ABC ordered more. And just like that, Wonder Woman became a series. It ran from 1975 to 1976 on ABC, then moved to CBS for 2 more seasons until 1979. 4 years of red boots, silver bracelets, and that unforgettable theme song that climbed music charts in countries far from Hollywood. All from a role she almost didn't get. She played Diana Prince with quiet strength and glowing eyes, but the magic wasn't always comfortable. The costume was so tight, she couldn't sit between scenes. She had to wear padding just to make it through the day. The famous spin transformation wasn't even in the original plan. They tried it once. Audiences loved it. So they kept it. And Carter made it look effortless, but it wasn't. Number 1. She was born on April 26, 1933, in San Antonio, Texas, to a family already cracked by hardship. Her father, Joseph Burnett, worked as a movie theater manager but was swallowed by alcohol. Her mother, Ina Louise, was a publicity writer with big dreams and bigger disappointments. The marriage collapsed quickly. and Carol was left with her grandmother in a one-room apartment, where a shared bathroom sat down the hall. They had no money, but her grandmother saved enough each month to buy one ticket to the movies. Carol would sit in the dark, watching stars like Jimmy Stewart and Judy Garland, and imagine herself somehow in that world. She didn't grow up wanting to be funny. She wanted to be serious. Drama was her goal, but life kept handing her scenes that were too absurd not to laugh at. The apartment building was filled with odd, broke tenants. Her mother drank like her father. Their food came from neighbors or on credit. Carol made puppets out of coat hangers and mashed potatoes. When she got accepted to UCLA in 1951, she didn't even have money to get there. A stranger gave her and her cousin a $50 bill. She never forgot that. Her big break came on The Paul Winchell Show in 1955. She did a comedy skit, and suddenly people noticed. Then came a string of variety shows, each one sharpening her timing. By 1959, she was cast in the off-Broadway musical Once Upon a Mattress. It became a hit, and so did she. Her rubbery face, wild expressions, and surprising tenderness caught everyone off guard. She was nominated for a Tony. Then came Ed Sullivan, then Gary Moore. In 1962, she started doing her now iconic Tarzan yell on live TV, swinging from sketch to sketch. She had a way of looking ridiculous and somehow making it noble. By 1967, CBS offered her her own show, but network executives thought she should stick to guest spots. They didn't think a woman could carry a variety show. Carol reminded them she had a clause in her contract. She insisted. They gave in. The Carol Burnett Show premiered on September 11, 1967. For 11 years and 276 episodes, she held the nation in laughter. She could switch from Lucille Ball-level slapstick to sad monologues without blinking. Her cast included Harvey Korman, Vicki Lawrence, Tim Conway, and Lyle Waggoner. They broke character so often, it became part of the fun. By the time the show ended in 1978, she had won 25 Emmys. But behind the scenes, things hurt. Her mother died in 1967 without ever praising her. Her father died of alcoholism at just 46. Carol kept smiling on screen, even when her first marriage to Don Saroyan collapsed in 1962. She remarried Joe Hamilton, a producer on her show, and they had 3 daughters. But addiction didn't leave her family alone. Her daughter Carrie struggled with drugs throughout her teenage years,